Hello and welcome to Get Financially Fit with Debbie Hancock. I'm a finance director, coach and all-round believer that money shouldn't be a taboo subject. Today I wanted to talk to you about why we need to have more money conversations about money and wealth creation. Not in a flashy show-off kind of way, but in a real honest what do you want from life kind of way. Because here's the thing, wealth isn't just about how much money you have in the bank. It's about giving you options, freedom, and it's about creating a life that actually feels good to you and your family. And if we don't talk about it, we stay stuck. So today I'm going to share why these conversations matter, what wealth can really mean for you personally, and some simple and practical ways to get started. So wealth isn't a one size fits all. For you, it might be paying off your mortgage early, supporting your kids through university or buying their first home, or even driving lessons because we know how expensive they are nowadays. It might be taking your kids on holiday. One of my clients, he took his family away on a skiing trip, and just seeing the joy on his face is just amazing. It could be building up investment income. It could be saving for retirement. I was just listening to a podcast and the guy was talking about not wanting to work into his 50s. So he's looking to build up enough investments that he can sell his business and retire and then make his own decisions about what he wants to do. It's the importance of knowing what you value. So what is your rich life? What's your version of that rich life? And aligning the money decisions with your actual goals, not what Instagram says or society says. I saw a conversation in a Facebook group today, and the guy was talking about him and his wife having differing opinions around buying a bigger property. He would rather not do that and use the money to go on holiday with their teenage kids, whereas his wife would like the bigger property. And there's no right or wrong here, but it's about having that open discussion around what are the pros, what are the cons, what can you do if you have more money, what can you do if you buy a bigger property, what will that give you, what quality of life will it give you, etc. And knowing what that means to you. So money opens doors. It gives you the financial freedom to decide if you want to walk away from a job you hate, invest in your business, help family, or give to the causes you care about. Investing isn't about getting quick rich, it's about growing options for the future and the confidence that comes from knowing your numbers and feeling in control of it. I recorded an education series earlier with Ryan, and we talked about how knowing your numbers and having a cash buffer means that you're able to make decisions in your business from a place of confidence and data driven rather than be driven by fear because you haven't got the cash built up in your business or you don't know what's going to happen, and so everything is a surprise to you. Creating wealth within your business and personally gives you the option to explore, try a few things, maybe be a bit riskier. We want to normalise talking about money because if we don't talk about it, people will stay stuck and they might feel fear, shame, or they might continue bad habits in silence. So it's all about opening up these conversations. I had a conversation with someone a number of years ago and they were about to make a really not an ideal decision with money when it came to money. But actually they spoke to us and we were able to help them create a better solution, and so that they weren't struggling as much with money. And that's why I really wanted to talk about wealth creation inside and outside your business, because creating wealth will give you the opportunity to make decisions about what you want to do in later life. So when I talk about creating wealth, it is one, building a profitable business, but it's two, what do you do once you take the money out of the business? Or do you use the business, do you use a business format to invest? So do you use a business structure to invest in property for say and have rentals or Airbnbs, long-term rentals, whatever you may be? Or do you extract the money from the business and do you overpay your mortgage? Do you have money in savings accounts, like high interest rate savings accounts? Do you invest in the stock market? Do you save into a pension either via your business or personally? Like, what are you doing to create wealth that means that you have more control over your life and your decisions. So I personally invest in the stock market and I overpay my mortgage, which technically is, not the right thing to do in terms of return on investment, because actually I have quite a low mortgage at the moment. So it'd make more sense to invest that money. But there is always this element, isn't there, of even your money mindset, your money habits, your money beliefs. And not having that mortgage for me creates wealth because it gives me freedom and control. So if I can clear that mortgage, it means I haven't got that massive cost every month to contend with. And then if income goes up or down, or I decide to take a career break or something unexpected happens, I haven't got to pay that big cost. I've just got to pay all my other costs. So while sometimes these financial decisions should be wholly logical, they're not always that. And that's why it's important to understand, what do you really want and what does wealth mean to you and how can you create it? If you know your numbers and you know what you spend on and you know what you earn and you know what's left over, you can then make decisions around where you're going to invest, save, what you're going to put your money towards, if you're going to keep it in the business, how you're going to extract it from the business. Without knowing these things, what can happen, and I have seen happen, is people are actually making really good sums of money in their business. And then what they're doing is it's just leaking everywhere. So in their personal life, it's just getting spent on thing over here, thing over there. They don't plan their holiday. So when it comes to booking their holiday, the flight prices are extortionate, the accommodation's crazy price. And therefore, their wealth is massively decreasing through lack of planning. We're going to the Canadian Rockies in the summer and we booked, I can't even remember when, we booked a lodge, it's right on the lake. And if you want to book that location on those dates now, it's quadrupled in price. So that means that I've saved myself technically loads of money. I won't be paying that price anyway, to be honest. But I've saved myself all that money and I can put that money to either more experiences, or I can overpay my mortgage, or I can buy more stocks and shares, etc. Are you paying yourself properly? You've got to stop waiting until the business is making more money. If you just keep spending and paying yourself last, your likelihood is you're never going to take any money out, because there's always more to buy in the business. There's always more to invest in the business. And I'm not saying don't invest in the business, but also put yourself first, because you can just continue to plow money into the business mindlessly, thinking, if I just buy this course, if I just do this, it will work out. Actually, you might be better off investing in an expert. You might be better off getting someone to help you with marketing or branding or finances, whatever it is. But stop going after just ploughing money into the next shiny thing, and actually think you need to pay yourself first. You need to take some money out for yourself. You need to be able to live, because then if you're getting rewards from your business, you're more likely to enjoy being in the business and growing the business, and with the risks that are associated with growing a business. If you're not getting any rewards for years and years, the likelihood of you wanting to continue is slim. Can you start some basic investments? So have you looked at stocks and shares ISAs? Have you looked at investing in the stock market? Have you looked at your pension, etc.? And you can start small and then build. It's a compounding effect. I put a post out the other week and it was about how I started buying shares when I was in corporate. And at first, I think I put in £25 a month. We were allowed to 50. And then when I got a pay rise, I went up to 50. And then the allowance went up to 75. So I put in 75 a month, all pre-tax. The company matched. And then when I left through redundancy, I got all those shares. And yet the stock market goes up and down because, what we've seen in recent weeks with the Trump tariffs is the stock market dropping. But what we've got to remember is this is a long-term investment, and you have to understand your tolerance to risk. So, how much risk can you take? How much risk are you willing to take? And being in it for the long run. And that's how you build wealth, because you're compounding that over time. So I was paying in that money over something like 8-9 years, probably 8 years, and then I get the rewards now as it's compounding. And actually, the stocks have gone up quite a bit in the last year, so I'm benefiting even more because I've stayed within the market. But it wouldn't have happened if I'd never taken that initial risk to just start putting in £25 a month. And I've done the same with my personal pension. So I started with £20 a month. It might seem ridiculous, but I started that, the process was set up, and then I just built over time. I've increased the amount I put in, I put bonuses in through my company, etc. So we want you to be thinking about what you truly value personally, and how are you going to get there? What wealth plan can you put in place to get there? Because wealth is about choices. It's about creating a life where money is a tool and not a source of stress. Too many people stress about money. And I know I probably come from a place of privilege in that I don't have to really worry about money anymore. But that wasn't always the case. When I left university and I had to take out credit cards and I wasn't earning a lot and my car kept breaking down, I had to make difficult choices at that point in time. But I'm pleased I made those difficult choices because I'm now where I am. And so even though it seems uncomfortable, looking at your numbers is so important because you need to think about where you could be in the future if you make these difficult decisions now. And it's not about being perfect, it's about getting started. And that means being intentional. Because imagine a future where you're not worried about your bills, where you're funding your dreams, where you feel in control. And that starts now. It starts with having small, brave money conversations. It's not about being embarrassed. It's about moving forwards and knowing what you want in life. And everyone can do that, even with small little decisions. I read a book recently and the woman was talking about just putting a 1% aside, just putting money into pots, little tiny amounts, and just starting. And that's what I did with the shares, and that's what I did with my pension. Just small amounts and build up over time. And as you see it build, that will give you the motivation, because the next time something happens, you'll have some money to go towards that. And even if it's starting with your debt and clearing down your debt little bit by little bit, it will help you because you'll see it progressing. You'll see the debt coming down. And I'd love for you to take one thing from today's episode and turn it into an action, whether that's sitting down with a cup of tea and working out what does wealth mean to you, checking your numbers, opening up those banking apps and checking your numbers, or starting a conversation that you've been avoiding. There's apps you can attach to your bank account, such as Emma and some others, that will bring it all together for you. So I have a spreadsheet and I look at my net wealth every month. So I bring together all my bank accounts, my credit cards, my shares, equity in my house, etc., and really understand where I am. But there are apps that can do that for you. And I make sure that when I'm putting my pots aside, so I have the pots personally, it's like this year's holiday, next year's holiday, I want to buy a sofa, I want to buy a car in like 5 years' time. Because let's face it, a new car is like 17 grand. I'm not just going to have 17 grand because I would have spent it on holidays. If I've got extra money, it goes on holidays. So I make sure that I'm setting money aside because I know what I want to achieve in life. I want to clear my mortgage by 50, so I've worked out how much I need to pay based on interest rates when I remortgage. I know what I need to pay every month to get that down. So it's so important to have these conversations, and you don't have to go to the level that I'm going, but just first of all, understanding like what you want in life, where your money is, actually going and finding it all. There was a accountant recently who posted and she didn't even know where all her pensions were. So this is not like you need to be a money person. Even money people aren't getting this all right. And that's okay. It's just getting started. And I'm just going to look over there, my paperwork over there. I've just done my lasting power of attorney because then someone can look after my wealth if anything was to happen to me. So really important things to consider, what you consider wealth. Start looking at your numbers, start having conversations, sit down with your partner and make sure you're aligned in what you're trying to achieve. Look at things like wills and lasting power of attorney, get your pensions together. Do you want to invest? Do you want to do something for your kids? Do you want to put money aside for your children? Do you want to start a pension for your children? How do you want to create wealth in your life? And if this episode has got you thinking, come and connect with me. You can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn, whatever platform you prefer, or drop me an email. I really love to hear how this conversation has landed for you. So thank you for listening. This is a slightly longer episode, but hopefully it's inspired you. And remember, anyone could be good with money. It just starts with talking about it. Thank you.